Hello everybody, I'm Sandie Lene, and welcome to Psychic Creations. In advance, thank you for watching. I've got my cheat sheets here because I'm not very good at ad-libbing. We have a nice, exciting show for you today. First, as you know, I happen to be a psychic, and I give psychic readings about present-day events and future events to my clients. And one of my abilities, my psychic abilities, is that I am able to communicate with the spirits that have crossed over, and that's cool. So on this episode of Psychic Creations, I'm going to talk a little bit about that facet of my psychic gift. Now, when I communicate with a spirit, with the deceased, they will appear to me in what I call a physical vision. And what I mean by that is that I see them with my physical eyes and I see them with my psychic eye. And usually what they will do is they will stand behind my client or they will stand to the left of my client, which is really cool because the left side happens to be your psychic side. So when they appear to me, what they will give me is what I call a key vision or a key word. And that is something that my client is knowledgeable of. Now, for an example, I had a woman that came to me that wanted to speak to her father. And so when I saw him appear behind my client, he showed me this big ring of jangling keys. And the woman confirmed that, yes, her father was a locksmith throughout his career and his life. So with that physical vision that came through of him and the key vision that he brought forth, she knew then that her father was really in the room with us. And then she could proceed to ask him questions or give him, her own statements, her own messages. And I just think that is so cool, that gift, that I can use that to help people, talk with their family and their friends that have crossed over. Now also, I happen to be a paranormal investigator, and using my spirit communication gift, that is such a nice edge to be able to see and discover and find and talk with the spirits on a ghost hunt. Now, I belong to a ghost hunting group called Thin Veil Investigators, and we have investigated many, many old and haunted buildings, mostly in the northern Nevada region, and a lot up in Virginia City. I mean, why not? That's just ghost hunters' mecca up there. And so it is, with my my spirit communications, it's so fun to talk with the miners up there, the bartenders, the housewives, the nuns at St. Mary's Hospital, the kids at Fourth Ward School, the housewives, just the horses, just everybody in Virginia City. The spirits are many, and it's fun to talk with them. Now, there are two very noted Comstock era, personalities in Virginia City. One of them is Eilley Bowers, and the other one is Julia Bulette. And believe me, they both frequent Virginia City quite often. Now, I have been very fortunate to be able, through my spirit communications gift, to speak with both of those gals. That is totally cool. And I have learned a lot about the gold rush of the West life through Eilley and through Julia, and what lives they have lived. It is so cool. Now, speaking of cool, how cool is this, that after we have a very short break, that Eilley Bowers and Julia Bulette will be my guest speakers for the second half of the show. Perhaps we'll learn a lot more about these gals, and also maybe they can clarify a couple of key visions that the gals have given me. and welcome back to Psychic Creations. I'm going to be talking to Eilley Bowers, portrayed by Lisa Bommarito, and Julia Bulette, portrayed by Kim Copel, about their upcoming theater play, Women of the Wild West. Welcome and hello, ladies.
Hi, Sandie.
All right. Oh, glad to have you on the show. Oh, this is so exciting. All right. Can you tell us where the play is going to be held at and ticket information and times?
Sure, I'd be happy to. There's two upcoming productions. One will be at the Dangberg Ranch Storytelling Festival on Father's Day weekend. So that's Saturday the 15th and Sunday the 16th of June. Both shows are at 5:30, and basically you could Google Dangberg Ranch and get ticket information. And then we will be performing at Piper's Opera House on July 12th. That's a Friday. And we have two performances. There's a matinee at 2 o'clock and a 7 o'clock evening performance. And you can get a hold of Lisa, Sandie, myself, Virginia City Board of Tourism, and get ticket information for that too. So we're pretty excited about both.
Oh, you bet. Wow. Oh, this is just so exciting. I'm so glad you're here. All right.
Thank you.
Let's talk a bit about the play and about Eilley and Julia. Lisa, you have written the play.
For the most part.
For the most part,
Yeah,
okay.
well, it was a collaboration, but
Sure,
yes, I'm
sure.
not going to disagree with
Well,
you.
well, what inspired you to write the play?
Well, inspiration comes from a lot of different directions. I had been watching Kim about town doing a number of characters, and they were all male. So set that thought aside. I had been working on Eilley Bowers for a project for the Nevada State Museum. Set that thought aside. And I decided I really would like to see her portray a woman. So how could we work something together that was going to incorporate the both of us, and it morphed from there.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. And she finally became a woman.
She did. She makes a lovely woman, actually.
It's one of the happiest days of my life to finally be a woman.
And how long have you lived in Genoa?
I've been there for about 15 years now.
15 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a reason I'm asking you that question.
Right.
All right. Now, Kim, when did you become interested in Genoa history?
Oh, probably about 5 years ago when I realized that the Pony Express Trail went through Genoa and it started linking the history that I'm primarily interested in. So I spent more time in Genoa, and then we eventually moved there, and I learned a lot more about Genoa, and it felt like home, and I enjoyed telling the history.
All right. Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, now, at what stage, pun intended, did you two end up in Genoa coming together to collaborate in creating the play?
Well, if I may say, it goes back to Lisa seeing me portray several men and wanting to see me portray a woman. And we started talking about it when I moved my business into her antique shop, Cobweb Palace in Genoa. And my business is Genoa Historic Ghost Tours. And so we spent more time together and found out we had similar interests in history, and that it kind of went from there, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think probably the only thing I could add is that the collaboration just started snowballing, and then we had the idea it would be great to do something, as a benefit for our little town, and we had, the idea to put together a show that we would actually perform as a play. But we also wanted it to be portable, too.
Yeah, so we didn't go big into sets. It's, more vignette based. And so, yeah.
And your first show was in February?
That's right.
All the way
February.
back in
Yeah,
February.
at the Genoa Town Hall.
And what a turnout that was.
It was
And you
fabulous,
performed
yeah.
that for 3 days in a row.
Yeah, we did.
That was
Yeah,
interesting.
We were overwhelmed with the response. We were hoping for 10 people. But it was wonderful, and it gave us the encouragement that we could take the show on the road, that other people might be interested in seeing it.
Well, of course. And here you are going to be at Piper's and at Dangberg Ranch.
What a dream.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Both
goodness,
places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both historic places.
Sure. All right. Well, you've mentioned to me that you've written your own lines for the play. Why did you decide on writing your lines and you writing your own dialogue? How did that come about?
Well, it takes months of research when you're portraying a historical character. And I had spent so much time, obviously researching Eilley. It makes sense that, I would write my own lines. I also was, researching the overlapping. But, the thing is that you have to really stand in that character's shoes and walk their walk in order to be able to adequately portray them. It wouldn't make sense for me to portray Julia because Kim was researching her. Mm-hmm. We had outlines that we were working with to try to demonstrate the overlap in a certain period of time.
Yeah, I felt, not coming from a stage and acting background, it made me feel a lot comfortable to write what I was experiencing from my research and try to figure out who Julia was and how I could bring her to life. So I appreciated the freedom to go ahead and write my lines, and actually Lisa was very instrumental in guiding me, because I don't have that theater background. But I feel that it made a better show for what we were doing because I wasn't completely walking the walk. I'm not a prostitute. Yeah.
Okay.
We're working on it, no. But it was quite helpful, especially for me to be able to bring her to life through what I understood from my research.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you made a good point. You made a good point with what you were saying in your message, that you became familiar. You walked in the shoes. And so you really can bring forth that Wild West history because you are so familiar, so being the gals. I think that's wonderful. Yeah. I think that's wonderful that you did that. You wrote your own dialogue. I like that. Now, what era, time frame is the play set in?
We're overlapping about 4 years, a 4-year period of time in the late 1860s, because Julia was in Virginia City for 4 years. Eilley had been there for a while, and Eilley lived a great deal longer. So we had to take a look at who, what, where, when, and why during that period of time.
So early 1860s?
Well,
or?
about 1863 to 67.
Oh, okay.
Because Julia was only there from 63 until she died in 67.
Okay.
So we had to only work
Sure.
with what happened in those 4 years.
But we also, via monologues and other vignettes, really address other parts of our lives that didn't include each other. And it's a marvelous tool to demonstrate the tension and the animosity, the emotion, the sadness, the sorrow, the joy that these women had in common and that also divided them.
Yes.
Oh, good point. Good point. Oh, you guys are just awesome.
Thank you.
Now, Lisa, Eilley, in our spirit communications together, she told me that her favorite room in her mansion was the library. Can you tell us why?
Because it was the farthest away from the kitchen.
Well, now that's a good point. I like that answer.
In all seriousness, Eilley worked as a boarding house, as she cooked and laundered for the miners. And I think when she became wealthy, that was probably the last thing on her mind. But that really wasn't it at all. Eilley was very, very much about social status. And books, education would mean elevation to her, social elevation. She very, very much wanted influential men of the community to try to really build and grow and shape the community, and rather than just record the history. And she tried desperately to influence and generate and create a better community. Books, the library to her would be symbolic of her wealth, the education that she always wanted, that she never had.
Oh, well, very interesting. Because, I think it's interesting because when I have gone into the Bowers mansion, I see her and feel her, and I get pictures of her in the library more so than any other room of the mansion. So that's interesting. Thank you for that.
Oh.
And Kim, now Julia mentions in our communications we've had together that she had impeccable manners. Can you enlighten us on her education?
Well, her education was very interesting. As a young girl, she aspired to wear better clothes and to travel and to kind of live the fine life, but she knew that she probably just had this avenue as a courtesan to do so. It was her own Uncle Jules, which she took her name from, her nickname, who trained her how to be a courtesan, who trained her how to have worldly knowledge, to be well read, to know the arts, in order to be able to keep the company of gentlemen of that stature who would be her clients. So she had to be entertaining to them, to sit and talk with them, or to attend a ball or an opera with them. So she had to have impeccable manners. She may not have been accepted in society in the way that Eilley was, but she had to try to fit, and she had to portray a woman of society to her clients to fulfill their fantasies.
Very interesting. Boy, you have really done your wonderful research. That is so exciting.
A lot of fun
Well,
to do it.
it's just that one time I was up in Virginia City at a local restaurant, and I knew Julia was with me because I had been talking with her earlier that day, and a napkin was pulled off my lap, and she told me, she said, that wasn't folded properly. And so it's like, oh, really? Okay, so that's one of the questions why I wanted to ask you about that and the education, because those are the clarifying moments of the key visions that both the gals had given me.
Wow.
So thank you for
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's amazing.
Really.
Well, Lisa, how did Eilley and Julia meet? Now you can get into character. I want to hear your accents.
Actually, there's probably a great deal to be left to speculation, but my feeling is that they probably ran into each other at the Opera House, the Milliners, various charity balls and social events of the day. A parade on Main Street, perhaps.
Interesting. Okay.
But they did meet. Eilley was aware of Julia. Julia attracted too much attention to herself in that community,
Well,
just by
of course,
virtue of just by virtue of her works. She was very, very much into charity, and Eilley, when she had money, she was into charity as well. And so,
Somehow along the line, your lives intermingled.
well, we just wanted her money. We didn't really want her to go to the parties.
I see. I see. Well,
Isn't that true?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Well, that leads me into my next question for you, Julia. How did you and Eilley treat each other?
I'm sure she was just following me around everywhere I went because she was so jealous of me. My escorts were her society, and sometimes her friends' husbands.
Is that right? Oh, okay.
And I think that what Lisa says is actually, it has to be true, is that Virginia City, for all the people that it had, C Street, the business portion, the theaters, everything on C Street, D Street, and B Street, it was really within a certain area. McGuire's Opera House was right on D Street at the corner of Union and D. And that was right where the brothels were.
Oh, yes.
So walking around town, let alone all the society events that my escorts took me to, it had to just really put her panties in a bunch to run into us all the time. So that's how we see it. It must have happened. As a matter of fact, I did read somewhere, and I think Lisa read the same thing, that Eilley was jealous of Julia's geraniums that she had in her planter box on her house, because geraniums were what am I trying to say? They were rare. They were very expensive to bring into Virginia City.
Okay. Oh.
And so here, if I had the money to do that, and I was trying to act like, it just fried her.
It just fried Eilley. Oh, goodness. I guess it did fry Eilley. How wonderful. So basically, the Women of the Wild West play is the times that you two met up, intermingled, intertwined, individually and together. Okay.
It is, and more so, because it's a venue to tell what Virginia City was like in all facets at that time. Coming from where I was allowed to mingle and where Eilley was allowed to mingle, the mining, the disasters, things like that. So through our lives, we get to share Virginia City of the 1860s, which was a fascinating time, fascinating.
Well, wasn't that about the peak of the mining and socialism in the 1860s, or did it go farther?
It had a roller coaster effect where in the 60s it was going up and then down, and then of course the big bonanza, hit in the 70s.
In the 70s, okay. And you weren't around then, were you, Julia?
No, I didn't last long enough.
Didn't last long enough, but you were around to enjoy the peak and the extravagance of...
No, I wasn't enjoying it. I was broke by then.
You were broke by then? I see. Oh. And so is that when you became a public seeress?
Eilley had always used her gifts as parlor tricks or entertainments early when she had money, okay? It was a form of acceptance. She liked being the life of the party, but when she became broke and Sandie, her husband, had died and her daughter had passed away, she lost her mansion, she needed to use those gifts. It was the only way to keep her alive.
I see. Well, I have a kinship with her then, with Eilley. We're both seeresses.
There you go.
Seeresses.
The amazing Madam Sandie.
That's right. That's right. The Wild West play held at Piper's Opera House on July 12th. Be sure and look for me. I'm the amazing Madam Sandie, and I will be offering psychic readings before and after the show and during intermission. And I think that that's cool.
Yes, we do too.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being there to enhance the show.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very nice to hear. I like that. All right. Now, let's see. Can you give us some more information about the play at Piper's, and then go ahead and talk about the Dangberg too, so we can get more
Sure,
information?
just to give the information again,
sure.
so that, yes, for those interested in seeing the play, and keep in mind, they're both historic venues, and it would be worth it to see the play at both places. But coming up rather quickly on Saturday the 15th of June and Sunday the 16th of June, the play will be part of the Dangberg Storytelling Festival, and our show will go on at 5:30, and you can get more information from the Dangberg Ranch website. And then July 12th will be at Piper's Opera House for 2 shows. That's a Friday. 2 o'clock is the matinee show, and 7 p.m. will be the evening show. They'll both be a lot of fun. And you can get a hold of the Virginia City Board of Tourism or Sandie, Lisa, or myself for tickets. And we'll be very happy to see you there. I know that you'll enjoy the show.
Well, can you give us a little sneak peek about a line or two that you say in the play? I surprised you with this.
Yeah, you did. Let's see. In my time, I was the wealthiest woman in these United States and owner of the Bowers Mansion. My name is Eilley Bowers, and my friends call me Eilley.
In my time, I was a working girl, the most famous of all the Comstock prostitutes. My name is Julia Bulette. My friends, they call me Jules.
I hated you. How's that?
Oh, universal applause. You were wonderful. You were wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. Well, as we said, you can get a hold of myself, Eilley, and Julia for the information and or to learn about where to purchase tickets for the Women of a Wild West show. And if you happen to be interested in a psychic reading or a spirit communication, you can get a hold of me at my website, which is www.juliabulette.com. sandiepsychicstones.com, and I spell that Sandies. I have to be a little bit different. Thank you so much for watching Psychic Creations, and we'll look forward to having another show with you again, and to be with these wonderful, fabulous ladies, Lisa Bommarito portraying Eilley Bowers, and Kim Copel portraying Julia Bulette.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having us on.
Oh,
Thank
well,
you for
thank
having
you for
us,
being
Sandy.
here.
It's always such a pleasure.
It
Well,
is,
This has
it
been a
is.
fun show. Thank
It
you
has,
very
thank
much.
you.